How does the body learn illness? Not metaphorically, neurologically, emotionally, biologically. Now, this may sound strange at first because most people think illness begins only in the body. But what if sometimes the nervous system also learns suffering? What if the body memorizes emotional states the same way the brain memorizes habits? Now, think about this carefully. When you repeatedly experience an emotion, your body changes. Fear changes breathing. Stress changes hormones. Anxiety changes muscle tension. Hopelessness changes every levels. Anger changes chemistry. Now imagine repeating those emotional states for years, again and again and again. Eventually, the body starts adapting to them. Now, this is where emotional memorization begins because the body is constantly listening to thoughts, to emotions, to reactions, to repeated experiences. Now, over time, the nervous system learns patterns. Now, think about survival conditioning. Imagine someone living for years in stress, pressure, fear, uncertainty, hypervigilance. Eventually, their body starts expecting danger automatically. Now they no longer need a real emergency. The nervous system itself becomes the emergency. Now this is why some people wake up anxious before anything bad has even happened. The body already learned the emotion. Now this process is deeply connected to repetition. Whatever emotional states repeats most, the nervous system starts calling normal. Now think about modern life. How many people today repeatedly rehearse stress, urgency, overthinking, comparison, fear of the future, emotional pressure daily without pause. Now eventually the body memorizes survival. Now the body itself becomes the subconscious mind. Now this is one of the deepest ideas in mind-body healing because many people try changing mentally while the body is still emotionally addicted to the old state. Now imagine someone saying, I want peace, but their body has practiced stress for 20 years. Now stress feels familiar and familiarity creates identity. Now the body unconsciously pulls the person back toward familiar emotional chemistry. This is why change feels difficult because the body resists unfamiliar emotional states. Now think about trauma. Trauma is not only what happened, trauma is what remained unresolved inside the nervous system afterward. Now the body stores emotional memory. A smell can trigger fear, a voice can trigger anxiety, a place can trigger panic. Why? Because the body remembered. Now this is body memory. The nervous system linking emotional states to experiences repeatedly. Now over time these patterns become automatic. Now the person no longer consciously chooses the reaction. The body reacts first. Now this is where chronic illness becomes important to understand because prolonged survival conditioning affects biology deeply. Stress hormones remain elevated, inflammation increases, sleep weakens, immune function changes, digestion changes, energy production changes. Now the body stays in protection mode for too long. And protection mode is not the same as healing mode. Now this does not mean every illness is caused by emotion. That is too simplistic. But emotional survival clearly affects the body far more deeply than most people realize. Now imagine a nervous system that has practiced fear, stress, hopelessness, anger, pressure for decades. That emotional chemistry becomes familiar. Now the body memorizes it. Now this is why many people feel uncomfortable during peace. Stillness feels unfamiliar. Rest feels unfamiliar. Joy feels unfamiliar because the body became conditioned to survival. Now, this is the hidden reason many people unconsciously recreate stress in their lives. The nervous system seeks familiar emotional chemistry, even when that chemistry is painful. Now, think about addiction. People think addiction only involves substance, but the body can also become addicted to emotions, stress, drama, fear, anger, emotional intensity, because repeated emotional chemistry changes the nervous system. Now the body starts craving familiar states. Now this is why healing often requires more than positive thinking. The body itself must relearn safety. Now meditation becomes important here because meditation interrupts automatic emotional rehearsal. For a moment, the body stops rehearsing the familiar self, stops reinforcing survival, stops producing the same emotional chemistry. Now the nervous system experiences something different: stillness, safety, presence, coherence. Now, if repeated stress can condition the body, perhaps repeated safety can recondition it too. Now, this is where true transformation begins. Not when a person merely thinks differently, but when the body emotionally experiences a different reality repeatedly. Now, elevated emotions becomes powerful: love, gratitude, freedom, connection, joy. Because elevated emotional states and completely different signals because elevated emotional states send completely different signals into the nervous system. Now the body starts learning safety instead of danger, openness instead of contraction, coherence instead of chaos. Now over time, the nervous system changes, the brain changes, the emotional baseline changes. Now this is why healing often takes repetition, because the old emotional identity was built through repetition too. Years of stress built it. Years of emotional conditioning built it. Years of survival rehearsed it. Now healing requires rehearsing something different again and again and again until the new emotional state becomes more familiar than the old one. Now think about this deeply. Most people do not wake up every day with a fresh nervous system. They wake up with yesterday's emotional conditioning, and the day before that, and the years before that. Now the body carries emotional history. Now perhaps one of the greatest transformations possible is teaching the body that the danger is over, teaching the nervous system that safety exists again, teaching the body how to stop rehearsing suffering automatically, because maybe the body did not consciously choose survival, it simply learned. And if survival can be learned, perhaps healing can be learned too.